Hey, this is Brian here, everybody. Again, just for viewers tuning in, this is my 2019 Infiniti Q50S Signature Edition Rear-Wheel Drive 3.0T. So let me start this video. I want to just talk about basically has to do with my 0 to 60. I'm on a journey to get this car to go really quickly on 0 to 60. But ultimately, if you've been following along, I've been having major battles with my car. It just will not get traction whatsoever, if I can even stress that. And again, I've gotten some different revisions with my launch control. My tuner is really good, as you're saying. The tune is working well, maybe too well, too much power. I don't know what's wrong with the car. I did get my car initially tuned at Jotech, and I just got to keep a train of thought, but at Jotech and when in that tuning process, I was getting all kinds of TCM. That's the transmission codes. That TCM is the part of that in the ECU that I was having, I just won't go into too much into the detail, but the torque converter, I mean, all kinds of codes were being thrown, and Jotech was like, that's just the car doing that just to alert you that, or maybe there was just an error with the reading of the latest software through Ecutech, but otherwise that stuff was just getting cleared off, and the car was, performing decently well. And then I went to Hussein and said, bye-bye, Jotech, and I've never seen those TCM portion of those codes again. So I don't know if Jotech did something to mess the car up, or if I did something, I'm not going to put the blame on them, but there was some major shit going on there. And maybe I've done something to the transmission. There's been a few times that I've had it in auto mode, and I thought I was in manual mode, and I shifted it into neutral and then shifted it back, and I've got some clunks and I've gotten some revs, but I mean, that's not a whole bunch of times, but I just don't know what's wrong with the car as far as trying to put the power to the ground. But otherwise, in the last couple of videos, I talked about the rear wheel alignment as far as the camber. Here we have a closer up shot of my Toyo 888Rs after I have done my fiddling around with my camber adjustment. And this shows how the inside wear pattern that I was having the issue with, well, at least visually. So now I maxed out the camber adjustment into the opposite direction, so that would be positive. And you can still see that it was maxed out, so the tire is sitting more straight up and down, and had no more ability to turn that out, so that's maxed out. But you can see in this picture here that my contact patch has now been shifted to the left portion of this video, and where before the tire was mainly putting more weight on the inside and right in that channel, that weather groove or the water groove. And obviously, that section is not touching the concrete, so you're losing traction in that area. So with the camber adjustment in the other direction, like I wanted to do, you can see that I've shifted more of the centralization of the weight of the car onto the tire that has more rubber on the ground. So obviously I think this came out as a good success. As far as performance gain and traction, I didn't see in my case, but there's many variables that can affect that, along with the temperature of the ground and the temperature of the air and different tire pressure. So that was, and you see in my picture that 33 psi warm. So going to the next picture, that is the passenger tire. The first one was the driver's side tire. You can see that it's wearing just like the other one, and it's more shifted so that the tire wear is directly in the center portion of the tire, with less tire wear on the outsides, and it looks pretty equal. So I think that is a good thing in my case. So next I've got my tire, and these were dropped down to 30 psi, and I drove them around,
and you can see if anything has changed. I haven't looked at them really super closely, trying to make this video, get it put out, but maybe, the tread pattern was pushed out just a little bit on the left and right side. Hopefully going from a little less air pressure, you'll flatten the tire out a little bit more. So that's the driver's side tire here. And then here is the passenger side tire, but it's on the ground, and looks pretty fair as far as I can tell in my non-professional opinion as a tire alignment adjuster. So there we go. And then these final two photos are going to be after I spun the tires, in the videos that you will see of 0 to 60, and literally, spun them a whole lot, and you can see, or for your own view, if anything has changed. Still, a lot of, I think, unused tread or unused tire on the left and the right side, where I could even go lower PSI. But like I say in the video, I called Toyo and they said, Brian, or they just said, do not lower the tire pressure down like it's a drag radial, a serious drag racing tire, and because the tire is not designed to do that, and you can damage your tire. It's just not meant to do that. It's spec to carry the weight of that car and at that tire pressure. So I mentioned running it lower than 20, 25, and the person on the other line was like, do not do that. And I was like, well, it's for a racing application. And they were like, yes, I understand, but it's not meant to do that. And basically, get to the point is like, why did you call in if you want to lower the tire pressure down and we're telling you not to do it? But, it is what it is. So obviously in this picture, and then the passenger side tire now it looks like I could even go a little bit lower, maybe 28, 27 PSI, and try to flatten out the tire a little bit more to get the little bit more tread wear on both the right and left side. But I'm kind of done, like I said, trying to roast these tires and not get anywhere with the 0 to 60, and at least until the concrete starts getting warmer, more towards the warmer summer months. So there you go. Okay, so this is going to just add information. Some people don't want to know all this information, and they're going to get pissed about it, and it's boring to them, but I am just an information guy. So here is my journey with this tire patch thing that I've been doing. Here's as a reference, the 8.5 inch standard wheel with my 275 Firestone that I went with many, many months ago. You can see tire patch dimensions, basically how they change. So yeah, the 8.5 inch wheel with a 275 tire. Then the next photo is with the 10 inch wheel that I purchased. That's with the Nitto tire on there mounted. So you can, stop the video and go back and look at the different tire dimensions. Basically just the car's jacked up in the air, and I place in this piece of paper under there, just getting a non-super scientific measurement. So yeah, just to kind of see what, as it sits on the ground, what kind of tire patch it is. So then on this final photo, this is on my 10-inch wide wheel with my Toyo on there, and at 30 PSI warm. And so it's, and the measurements here on the next photo portion is kind of deceiving, because this is at 30 PSI and it's showing 8.34. And then on this next photo, it's showing 9 inches, but that's what I got. So that's the data. So but for the people that don't go back and have not been following me and not been paying attention to the past videos and just watch this one and jump right in and think this is the first video that I've made, I've had a couple of different tires on the rear. I've got wider rear wheels on this car because the factory car came with 8.5 inch wheels and 245 tires all the way around, and it's just no traction on those tires, even though I have Pirelli P0 Nero GT pure summer tires on there, but they're 245. So I started out next and I went to a Nitto NT 555R2 tires, and those worked really, really well. But I was still getting wheel spin
even though I had those great tires, and so I shifted, around a little bit, and then I decided to go with a Toyo R888Rs and just have those tires and give those a shot. And so I sold my Nittos and recouped some of that money, but not all of it by far, and bought these other tires. So and then I'm still just getting a lot of wheel slip, but it has gotten cooler now. And these tires, the operating temperatures, operating the premium operating temp of these tires is like 120, 130, and you do not achieve that during a smoky burnout, other than you are just primarily tearing extra tread off your tire, and you're just going to wear your tire out faster. Just to mention too, then also too, I drive my car to where I gotta go. My drag strip is just not right outside my driveway, and so I'm not getting any heat. I actually drive 20 or 30 minutes to where I need to go to try to avoid the insane traffic here in Dallas. So you're putting in heat in your tire as you're driving it, these tires and my last tires were like $700, $750, almost $800 mounting and balancing. And I'm just done trying to get these 0 to 60s and just every time smoke my tires, for 50 feet or 25 feet. This last time, which I'm going to show you in these videos, the main one time that I stayed in it, it was about 60 to 70 feet. And I also have a picture of that, but because of the type of concrete, you're not gonna just see a black mark, but because of the video, it's harder to see, but I went back and looked at it, and it's a pretty impressive burnout mark. But yeah, so other than that, and that also heats up the tires doing that, and then the next run I do, I don't necessarily see an improved time. So just people that are like, do the burnout, do a big burnout. You do burnout on your expensive tires, and show me how that works. But both of the tires, the Toyo and the Nitto that I had, are not pure crazy, pure drag racing tires. Where those have the compounds, from my research and talking to people, and then calling the manufacturer, that when you do a burnout on those tires, the process of the friction changes the compound, and it makes them stickier and tackier. So that's the reason why those people do burnouts on those tires. Like on the Street Outlaws show, all those tires, they're made to do a burnout, and they react to that burnout and they become softer. Whereas street tires and the general, kind of mid-level drag radial tires, the compound, they're just not made to that type of compound, where when it gets colder outside, they get harder. When they get harder, they get more brittle. And so when you do a forced burnout on the concrete without any water, you're actually introducing more wear and tear into those tires than it is beneficial to do that smoky burnout or that mild burnout. Now you can do a chirp and a small chirp and see how much traction you have, and that's not a bad thing. But just sitting there with your brake on the foot, and you overpower your brakes and just wind out your tires to 7,000 RPM and do the smoke burnout is not very good on that tire. Plus, I'm done trying to waste my $700 on trying to damage, wear out my tires. But other than that, I got really cool data log, and I'll show them here. I say post them above because in my editing software they get stuck above, and that's how you see them. But I've got a launch control, a close-up of launch control, and I just can't figure. I don't know much about launch control. AMS would probably be the premium guys that would know how to set, because Ecutech added like 4 or 5 different parameters to control engine parameters to give you the best launch with launch control. You see supercars, and they're really advanced launch control, and you step on the gas and they have 800 or 900 horsepower, and they accelerate off as fast as they can with no wheel spin, and it just works for them. Where Ecutech is still just in that process where like, we just added this, and I think more, it's just to hold your RPMs, where you just smash it to the floor and it, you know, sets you up at 23, 24, you know, 3,000 RPMs, and they just have not developed a lot into that launch control. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I got a close up of that. If someone knows something and they can say, oh, here's your problem, or this is why, or they can make more sense of that. But also too, I've got my 0 to 60 data log, and let me see, my 0 to 60 data log, where I got some weird things going on, weird things that I've noticed, anomalies or something in those where it just seems off. I got a new map on my launch control, trying to get this figured out, where I have determined that I got to turn my boost way down. Nothing close to 17 or 18 psi first gear, even if you could get that type of psi in first gear. Where I've had it set before at about 11 to 12 psi, and that didn't work. And so I opted this third or fourth revision to get it turned down to like 8.5 or 9, and obviously it didn't work. It didn't work at all, as you'll see in the video. And I just don't know what to tell you, but it's very weird because my boost is really low, really low, and I'm still burning, you know, losing traction. You know, it is 60 degrees, and I'm on the Toyos, and they like it warmer, and so may just have to wait till we get back into the 90s, you know, beginning of summer, before it gets so hot and so humid. Yeah, so I don't know what to tell you about that. But yeah, and I wanted to point out that you'll see in my data log that in the middle of my run, that my car actually slows down a bit in mile per hour. And that's really odd too. I don't know what to think about that. But I got a 4.30 to 60 with about a 60 foot black burnout. On the concrete, it doesn't necessarily show as much black mark because of the video, because of my camera and the time of day, but clearly standing there you could see that it was really long, and the tires were obviously burning out. And in my video, it's just not as loud. I don't want to crank the volume up and screech your ears off, but it's actually a really pretty audible thing when I'm in the car, and you can feel it burning out and just doing, you know, not accelerating. So other than that, the Camber stuff is really cool, and I'll show some of that. As I lowered the tire pressure down, even in these tires, I called Toyo and talked to customer service, and they were like, do not run your tires at 25 psi or 20 psi. You will damage them. You'll wear them out much quicker, and they're not rated to do that. So I'm sticking kind of in the 30 to 35 range, and I even think that I'm not using some of that tread even at 30 psi cold or warm. I think that we'll just say that that's cold, so about 33, where I may need to put those down to about 28 to get a little bit extra tread, where the tire's sitting a little flatter across the tire. So, but real interesting stuff, interesting information with the alignment that I did and the data that I've come up with. So, I think a lot of people need to be, need to address, because all these people have 285, 290, 305 tires on there, and if they got the factory alignment, then your tires are riding with a lot of negative camber, and I just don't know. I mean, if my brain thinks that, camber shouldn't be affected by wheel size and offset. Obviously, if your tire, I mean, if your axle, or not the axle, you know, but the rear portion, the brake rubber, whatever I'm trying to get at, the hub, if that's focus, I mean, if that's, you know, at 0 degree, or, you know, just a slight tilt in, you know, negative, or just a slight positive, you know, the tire is sitting straight up and down, then it doesn't matter how wide your wheel is or the offset. You know, it's going to ride correctly. I don't know why Infiniti has so much negative camber put into the rear of the car with a factory suspension and factory everything, and making the tires wear funny. And I've had no accidents. I've done nothing to skew my rear alignment or my front alignment. My tires just wear great. So other than that, I'm going to end the video before it gets too long. I'm just in my basic garage again, just because of the noise outside, and you know, I'll try to make some more content. It just probably won't be you know, 0 to 60 related and performance aspect related and that, which is kind of disappointing. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I appreciate the people that are following, and, you know, comment and have us chat and send me the IM messages, and we'll go from there. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you another time, and have a good evening.